Good day, this is a pre-recorded video for our review in preparation for your LT1 on December 4. Before watching this, make sure that you have tried to answer our mock exam given in our group chat. The scope of the examination are the following: sketching rational functions, theorems on polynomials, analyzing graph of polynomials, square root functions, and piecewise functions. The test is divided into 3 parts. For part 1, we have multiple choice. Part 2 is short response, and part 3 is open-ended. So for part 1, there are 4 questions which are worth 1 point each, and the rest are 2 points each. For items 1 to 3, given the function p of x equals 3x to the 4 minus 7x cubed plus 2x squared, we need to solve for the following. Number 1, what is the remainder when p is divided by 3x minus 1? So we have two methods here. Either we can use the remainder theorem or synthetic division. But if we just try the synthetic division, so we get the coefficients first of the function p. So you have 3, negative 7, positive 2. And if you notice, we have no x term and constant term. Therefore, we need to write 0, 0 here. Divided by, what is our divisor? Since we have here a factor 3x minus 1, equated to 0, therefore x is 1/3. So our divisor here is 1/3. So the mantra, bring down the first term, then multiply. 3 times 1/3 is 1, then add, then repeat the steps, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add. And since the last number here is 0, therefore we can say that the remainder is letter A, or 0. Number 2 is easy. How many complex zeros does P have? We just need to look at the degree of the polynomial, which is letter C. And for number 3, which value is a 0 of P of x? So since in number 1, 3x minus 1 is a factor because the remainder is 0, therefore we can say that 1/3 is a 0. So our answer is letter C. Next, for items 4 to 5, we need to refer to the given graph of the function f of x. Number 4, hinahanap natin which statement is not true or the false statement. So let's look at the graph. No? So we have here a 0 or x-intercept. Isa lang, x equals 2. And if we look at the multiplicity of this, it should be an odd multiplicity. So multiplicity is odd since the graph passes through and crosses the x-axis at x equals 2. And looking at the statements, we see that there is something wrong with statement C. Kasi sinasabi ni C that the f has one real zero with multiplicity 2. However, we found out that one real zero has an odd multiplicity. So specifically, this is multiplicity 1. Okay? So letter C is the false statement. Number 5, what are the domain and range of f of x? So to find this, we need to get the end behavior. And obviously, from the graph, the end behavior is down, up. Okay? So if you have a down, up, or up, down end behavior, then the domain is automatically all real numbers and the range is also all real numbers. So letter A. Number 6, given the function p of x, so we are getting the possible rational zeros of p of x. And to do this, we need to remember the rational root theorem. So to use that theorem, we need to find the p and q. So p stands for the factors of the constant term. So since the constant term here is 6, the factors of 6 are plus minus 1, plus minus 2, plus minus 3, and plus minus 6. And for q, we need to look at the factors of the leading coefficient. So the leading coefficient is 1. So q is just plus minus 1. So ang sinasabi ni rational root theorem, the possible rational zeros can be obtained by dividing p over q. Okay? So p over q, that is just plus minus 1, plus minus 2, plus minus 3, plus minus 6. Okay? So no fractions, since the denominator is just plus minus 1. So letter B. And for number 7, which statement or statements are true about p of x? Let's look at them one by one. Statement 1 says that there are 3 complex zeros. This is true because the degree is 3. Statement 2, the graph of p rises on both ends. So mangyayari lang ang up if we have an even degree and positive leading coefficient. However, p has an odd degree. So this is false. The domain and range includes all real numbers. Tignan natin. So if the degree is odd and the leading coefficient is greater than 0 or positive, therefore we have a down up end behavior. And again, if we have a down up end behavior, we have domain and range all real numbers. So statement 3 is true. Our answer is 1 and 3. Number 10, in the figure above, if the degree of the function is 6, how many non-real zeros does it have? So again, you need here to find 3. Okay, so total number of complex zeros, total number of real zeros, and total number of non-real. So ito yung hinahanap natin. So how do we get total number of complex zeros? So again, total number of complex zeros can be obtained by just looking at the degree. So sinabi sa problem, degree of the function is 6, therefore the total number of complex is 6. So to get the total number of real zeros, since we are talking about real numbers, dapat nakikita natin sa Cartesian plane. And we see here 2 values or intercepts. You have here x equals 0 and x equals 2. But our answer is not automatically 2. We need first to verify its multiplicity. So for 0, x equals 0, we can say that the multiplicity is an even number. Why even? Because the graph touches the x-axis but never crosses it. Okay, so at this point, it concaves upward. Therefore, this is an even multiplicity. And similarly, ganun din yung observation natin for x equals 2. Even din yung multiplicity. So let's assume that that even multiplicity is 2. Okay, so if this is multiplicity 2, And this is also multiplicity 2. 2 plus 2 is equal to 4. Okay? So how do we get the total number of real zeros? Again, recall that the total number of real plus the total number of not real or imaginary should be equal to the total number of complex. So to get the total number of real, we just need to subtract 6 minus 4, and that gives us 2. Okay? For the short response questions, there are 5 questions given. You do not need to show your solution, so just write your correct final answer. So let's say for number 11, find f of 9. This should be p of 9. For p of x equals x cubed plus x squared minus 3x minus 6. So again, there are 2 ways to do this. The first one is to use the remainder theorem or use the synthetic division. Okay? So if we use the synthetic division, so again, we list down the coefficients. 1, 1, -3, -6. And for our divisor, that is just 9. Again, bring down the first term, multiply, add, multiply, okay, add, and then multiply 87 times 9, that is 783, okay, and then 783 plus -6, that is 777. So our P of 9 is 777. So if you do not want this method, then you could use the substitution. So for P of 9, just substitute the excess here with 9. So we have 9 cubed plus 9 squared minus 3 times 9 minus 6. So this should also give you 777. Okay? For item 13, we have here a square root function, and we need to find the domain. So just get whatever expression is inside your square root sign. So that expression is 7x minus 35, and then that should be always greater than or equal to 0. Solving for x, x is greater than or equal to 5. But the question asks for an interval notation, so our answer should be open bracket 5, comma, positive infinity. Third problem. Again, another square root function, but this time we need to identify that this is a semicircle. Okay, so why semicircle? Because you have here an x squared term. Okay, so we need to find the radius of that semicircle. So inside the square root sign, you have 2 to 5 minus x squared. Okay, so meaning this number right here represents r squared, or the square of the radius. Therefore, the radius is the square root of 2 to 5, which is 15. Now, to graph the circle, you have here the center of the circle, and the radius is 15. So let's assume that these are 15. Okay, so drawing the circle, you have this one. But since we have a semicircle, it's either the upper end or the upper part or the lower part. So alin ang pipiliin natin? Take note that meron tayong negative sign dito. Therefore, we should pick the lower bound. So this is your semicircle. And how do we get the increasing interval? So the circle is divided into 2 parts. So this is the first part. And this is the second part. Alin dyan ang increasing? Of course, this part right here is increasing. This is from x equals 0 to x equals 15. So that is 0 to 15. And for number 16, we have here a piecewise function, and we evaluate this one. So first, we need to find f of 25. So examine which piece are we going to look at since x equals 25 and 25 is greater than or equal to 5. So we need to use the first piece for f of 25. Therefore, that is positive square root of 25, which is positive 5. And for f of negative 14, so we need to examine which piece are we going to use. Since negative 14 is less than negative 5, we use the second piece. So 1 minus x, negative 14. So 1 minus negative 14 is positive 15. Therefore, if we subtract f of 25, which is 5, from f of negative 14, which is 15, 5 minus 15 is negative 10. For the open-ended question number 1, you have here a rational function. We need to find its properties and provide the sketch. So for the vertical asymptote, you should get always the denominator equated to 0, solving for x equals 3. For the horizontal asymptote, we need to determine which case. So by getting the degree of the numerator and denominator, n is 1, k is 1. These two are equal. Therefore, y is a over b. A is the leading coefficient of the numerator, while b is the leading coefficient of the denominator. So a is negative 1, b is 1. Therefore, our HA is y equals negative 1. For the x-intercept, get the numerator, equate it to 0. So x equals 0. Or this is 0, 0. Y-intercept, so get r of 0. Lahat ng x palitan ng 0. Okay? So we have here 0 divided by negative 3, that is 0. So we are now ready to sketch the graph of this one. First, the asymptotes by using broken lines. Then, the x and y intercepts. Isa lang naman. So, since we have here a point, then this region contains your function. Okay? So, how about the region to the right of your vertical asymptote? Okay? So, we have here two regions. So, it's either this one or this one. Okay? So, where should we place our graph? So, to test that, we need to check the value of r of 4. Okay, so if x equals 4, what is r of 4? So to do that, substitute x equals 4 in the original one. So r of 4 is negative 4 divided by 4 minus 3. So this is negative 4 over 1, negative 4. So we have here the point 4 comma negative 4. This means that dito yung ating graph. Okay? So we have no graph in this region. Okay? So the end behavior of the graph will look like this. Next, applying Descartes' rule of signs in this given polynomial. So first step, we need to find the sign variations. For p of x, we have here 1, 2, so 2 only. Okay? So to get the number of sign variations of the negative, we need to find p of negative x. So lahat ng may odd degree, so yun yung papalitan natin ng sign. And for even degree, just retain the sign. Okay, so x raised to 6, retain the sign. X raised to 5, flip the sign. Even degree, retain the sign. Even degree, retain the sign. Then retain the sign. Okay, so how many sign variations? 1, 2. Okay, so how to write the positive real solutions, negative real solutions, and imaginary solutions. So applying Descartes' rule of signs. So this can be 2. This can be 2. And how to get this one? So take note that the total number of real or number of solutions is 6, since the degree is 6. So to get the number of imaginary solutions, so that is 6 minus 2 minus 2, which is 2. And for the other possible combination, so we have here 0, 0, 6, and 6. Okay. Actually, there are other combinations as well. So let's try to add columns here. So what are the other two possible combinations? Okay, so let me write 6 and 6 here. So if this is 0, this is 2, so this is 4. And if this is 2 and this is 0, this should be 4. Okay, so overall there are 4 possible combinations. And lastly, given a graph of a function and the degree of that function is 5, so we need to find the equation of that polynomial. So we need to fill out the table first. So for the zeros, we have here -1, 0, and 2. Multiplicity of -1, this is 1, since it crosses the x-axis. For 0, this is 2, since it touches only. And for 2, this is also 2, since it touches only the x-axis. So to write the factors, so again, using the factor theorem, if c is a 0, then x minus c is a factor of the polynomial. So if -1 is a 0, then x minus -1, or that's x plus 1, is a factor. And considering the multiplicity, so this is raised to 1, since 1 yung ating multiplicity. Okay? If 0 is a 0, then x minus 0 is a factor. So x minus 0, we can just write it as x. And since 2 yung kanyang multiplicity, we need to double this, or x squared. If 2 is a 0, then x minus 2 is a factor. And since the multiplicity is 2, this is raised to the second power. So combining all the factors and writing our polynomial this way, okay? So we need to solve for the value of a. So how do we solve for the value of a? since we have here a given point, 1, -2, we will be using that. So using 1, -2, this means that if x equals 1, the value of f is equal to -2. Okay? So changing everything from our original function, you have -2 is equal to a times 1 plus 1 times 1 squared times 1 minus 2 raised to 2. Okay? So -2 is equal to a, 1 plus 1 is 2, 1 squared is 1, 1 minus 2 is -1, -1 squared is 1. So 2 times 1 is 2, 2 times a is 2a. So -2 is equal to 2a, therefore a is -1. So our final answer should be f of x is equal to -1, or let's just uh, cancel 1. So we just write it this way. And this is our final answer. So pwedeng meron kang 1 dyan or pwede ring wala. Okay? So this ends our pre-recorded video for our review. So make sure to answer all the items in your mock exam. So thank you for watching.